fucking nuts, man.
Is it crazy?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just me.
I want to see the other two motors in it.
Yeah, I know. This is good. How we doing there, Ron? What's the load, too? 77. Okay. See, we're only 36 on the telemetry out of 7,000. 46. That's it, huh? Take it off!
Pretty.
Hey folks, Rich here at RCINFORMER. Today I just have a quick preview, kind of an early look at my sample test plane of the brand new FMS 1700mm F7F TIGERCAT, guys. There's been a lot of talk on RC groups and Hobby Squawk forum about some detail on this plane. I've been a little hesitant to put it out just because this is a test plane, guys. It was sent to me from the factory for just early product testing and improvement and R&D and all that kind of stuff. So it's a little rougher, you know, than the actual production version is going to be. But everybody's been asking for stuff, so I'll try and give you guys as much info as I can. This is a plane they've been working on for at least 3 to 4 years now. I've been emailing them, the factory, since 2014 with specifications and the way they ought to make it and stuff like that. We've been going back and forth. So they've definitely put a lot of time and effort into getting this airplane right, and it runs on 6-cell, which is just fantastic. And it adds to their 1700 millimeter line, and it's just one heck of a plane. If you guys haven't seen the flight demo, check it out. I'll try to put a link at the end. It's on the RCINFORMER YouTube channel, but you'll see the thing flies fantastic, even on the stock setup that you just saw it fly on in that video. And I'm actually working on some power upgrades for this thing, so we're going to try and make it even faster if we can. But anyway, you can see that nose detail. The nose comes off if you need to. I actually added screws to mine so I can, you know, change the weight if I need to for the type of battery. The video you saw, I'm running a Connexus 6-cell 7,000 milliamp 30C pack. Gives you at least 6 to 8 minutes of easy, you know, real actually aggressive flying, even if you want to, as you saw from that video. But it's meant for a 5,000 and up, so you can kind of do whatever you want. Single battery, which is really nice, so you don't have to mess with dual batteries. There have been a lot of guys that have been asking me to compare this to the free wing plane and the Flightline model. I don't have one. I've seen pictures of it. They're both similar but different. They're kind of in a different size class and different power class, so it's kind of like comparing apples and oranges. But you can just see all this rivet detail. Look at what they did to this thing. They just went crazy with the detailing on this thing. Cockpit detailing. This is the 2-seat version, which had the radar officer in the back, and even as you go down this tail, you can just see all that rivet and panel line detail. The servos now for a lot of the flight controls are now a brand new 13-gram Metal Gear digital servo for everything. They're getting rid of all the 9 grams and going 13s, 17s, and 25s. But you can see all the way up on the, even all the way up to the rudder here, guys. Lots of rivet detail all the way around. The elevator, horizontal stabilizer, has lots of detail on it as well. Very smooth, nice finish on it. And you can tell they spend a lot of time. Another thing too, guys, this is a one-piece fuselage. That's one thing that does differ from the Flightline airplane. You don't need to glue anything together on this airplane. Rods, hords, linkages, everything comes on it. And the two elevator halves, and I'll try and point there if I can get my fingers in the camera, you literally have two spars running through this thing, and they plug right in like all of our FMS models, and you have 4 screws go in. You do make your elevator connections, of course, because there's 2 elevator servos right there for your elevators. But that is it for getting the tail on this airplane. There is absolutely no gluing. Cost-wise, that drives costs up a bit because you got to have a bigger box to put the airplane in. But I think, as from a modeler's perspective, it's really nice to have a single one-piece fuselage. There is some structure, I think, way in the back here where they put either wood or carbon fiber here to make it tougher. But from a modeler's perspective, it's just nice to have a one-piece airplane and not have the tail kind of chopped off and have to glue that all in place. One thing I'm going to focus on here in the middle of the airplane too is the wing plug-ins. And I'm going to walk over there and kind of show you this thing. This is a really sweet spar on this deal, guys. This is a 17.5 millimeter carbon spar, guys. It is tough. And it's just a single spar. And there's only 2 screws to hook this thing in. And once you plug your wing in, you've got these alignment plastic pieces here and here that line up your wing. There's the antenna I keep bumping into. Here that line everything up, and then 2 screws go through. You can see right here your bullet connectors here. That connect your flaps, ailerons, retracts, wing light, and then there's a pass-through here where your power line goes in for your ESC, because there's 2 ESCs in this plane. They're either going to be 60 or 70 amps. Not exactly sure what the factory's decided on that, but you can see there's 2 screws here. The screws actually do go in from the bottom. I just have them here so I can see them better. But very nice plastic fittings to get this wing on, and the wing just plugs straight in. It has a very nice flush kind of concave fitting that fits in there nicely, and it makes actually a very nice seam. So the wing joiners and the way they plug in, they're very strong, guys, with that really thick spar there. There is an antenna on the top. I actually don't put mine on there because I tend to break those kind of things off. But the biggest feature about this airplane that really is kind of mind-blowing is the landing gear. I'll get close in on this. You can see that rear center brace, which I'll try and point to right there. That rear over center brace right there is what drives the landing gear up and down, just like the full-scale airplane. And if you look at a picture of the full-scale landing gear on this airplane, this is nearly identical, even almost down to the 2 arms that open and close the door with and so forth. But I'll get a little closer in on this thing and kind of show you guys what that looks like. But all ball bearing supported wheel, very scale, excellent suspension. It's just very nice compression. They got it sprung just right, and of course it steers right here, which I'll probably plug it in here shortly, and I'll kind of show you how that all kind of works out. But overall, guys, this is probably one of the finest, one of the most scale retractable landing gear systems I've seen on a foam airplane. Again, guys, mine is beat up. It is a test early sample, and a lot of times they send it to the factory, send it to me from the factory like this, because they know I'm going to handle it, I'm going to beat it up, I'm going to trash it, and kind of just test fly it and all kinds of stuff. So it doesn't really need to be perfect for this. And I'll be showing you the airplane when the full production version comes out, and it's like a little cleaner than this. But absolutely sweet landing gear overall. Now the canopy comes off pretty much in a traditional way, which I'll kind of walk over there again and show you. It pretty much simply, you know, just has a latch back here, and you lift this thing off. Canopy's a little thin this way, but they put a carbon spar running through here, so it's actually pretty darn rigid. Good, decent cockpit detail and space for 2 pilots if you want. They zinc chromated it. But you can see how nicely that thing comes off. It's very easy to get. 6-cell battery goes right in here, and all your other connections and everything goes in here. And with that, let's get a closer look at how that looks like. As we look straight down into the battery compartment area, you can see there is a lot of room in this thing. Designed for a 5,000 milliamp pack. Again, I'm running a 7,000 Connexus pack, 30C 6-cell battery, and I pushed it all the way up here against this bulkhead. I actually ended up shaving about 11 millimeters off of the foam here to get this battery a little farther forward. Hopefully it'll come that way from the factory, so you don't have to do that to it, but that was one of the early changes I made, is just get the battery as far forward as I could get it, because that's about as far forward as you can get it there, because the landing gear, nose well compartment, and all that stuff are in there. And then, of course, there is a cooling hole in here. There's plenty of air that comes in, and it actually comes in from underneath, and I'll probably show you that hole right under the nose where it can all circulate in, come out over the battery, and then go down through those holes that you can see down there in the tail. There's 2 of them. But lots of space in here, guys, overall. And although this looks confusing, it's actually very, very simple. This is basically the main harness, okay, where your battery connects with the EC5. And then these plug into your 2 wings, where your wing EC3s come in. They may even use an EC5 for this. Again, mine is a sample, guys, so a lot of this stuff is subject to change. There's the battery connection right there. And then, of course, you have a wood floor down there, 2 battery straps you can see holding that thing on. And then I made a couple changes to the airplane, which I'll probably show you here. The factory's probably going to do this too, and they're probably not going to have all this stuff in here. But there's an ESC connection, and then, of course, there's your power connection. So you have 2 connections per wing here, aside from the bullet connectors, which are for your flaps, ailerons, lights, and gear, and all that kind of stuff. The reason I have an extra one is for the gear door, because the doors on this airplane, they were originally running with a some kind of trapeze type contraption without any servos, but I ended up adding a servo to the main gear doors to make them operate, and they operate flawlessly now. So I needed an extra line. They're probably not going to be here on the final production version. They're probably going to be run through here, okay, and not need the extra wire here. Mine is just, like I said, a test plane, and they're going to be run through probably this board right here, which is pretty standard for most of the FMS stuff. Also here, the BEC, it's a pretty strong, it was either a 10 or 15 amp BEC. Mine wasn't actually labeled with what it is. One request I asked from the factory was to make this line longer. You see how short it is, and you end up kind of moving this BEC around a lot. And I'm hoping they're going to give us a few more inches on that from the factory so we can actually secure that and don't have to mess with that separate BEC anymore. This has been powering the plane quite nicely. FMS, I think, has been using this for a lot of their planes in the past, and it does quite well, as you probably saw from the flight video. But lots of room. There's plenty of space underneath here where all those wires go all the way down to the nose gear for the retract and the steering and that kind of stuff. But you can see the plug-in's very straightforward. Everything's already wired for you. I got a AR8010 receiver down in there, 8-channel. It is only a 6-channel airplane, so you only need 6 channels to operate. I did run a 7th channel in there for my nose wheel steering to be separate on the knob, so I can trim it with the knob but still have it in control with the rudder stick. And then actually I ended up using the 8th channel actually for a gear door sequencer. Even though they're going to give you a sequencer with the airplane, I decided to run mine through the radio rather than just to try it out kind of thing. And I was having issues with my sequencer, but that'll be coming from the factory with a sequencer, so you won't have to worry about that. Also, you can see my antennas. I have one there right in the back, as you can see right here, that runs straight back. I also have one coming up the wall here, right along here, up and down, so those are 90 degrees to each other. And then my satellite I ran at sort of a 45. So I've got all the angles covered with the receiver. It is a big, powerful airplane, so it's a good idea to have all those bases covered. And you can see how this spar goes through here with this big plastic doubler and then this big housing right here to kind of keep everything in place. And it's a very strong system. Like I said, if you guys haven't seen the flight demo video, it might be a good idea to check that out, and you'll see how well this thing flies and how rigid it is and how nice it is with this big 1700 millimeter, or I'm sorry, 17.5 millimeter thick spar here, guys. But anyway, that pretty much constitutes it for the inside. It's very simple, very easy to set up. Again, you can run a 5,000 pack all the way up, and you get really decent flight time out of it. So anyway, guys, canopy goes back on. Let's see real nicely here. And let's go ahead for right now, and let's take a look at the wings. All right, guys, just a quick look at the wing here. You can see it's just a pretty massive size wing. The airplane, once it's together, is actually fairly large. You can see, again, all that riveting detail all over it. Just really a heck of a lot. I've had mine out in the sun, too, guys. Again, this is the first one out of the mold, so it's going to be a little rougher probably than the production version. All this stuff comes assembled except for the nacelles. The nacelles one piece, the wing is one piece. All the horns, rods, screws, ball links, they are all already attached to this airplane. All you have to do is put your nacelle on, attach your wires for your retract and probably your doors now, since I put a door servo in there, and then put those 4 screws that you just saw through the top side, and then you can see how those go on with just those 4 screws. So very easy assembly. FMS has really been leading the way on getting you very fast out of the box and up and flying. So prop is very familiar. It's off their the Hellcat, the F6F Hellcat. I believe it's the same propeller. I could be mistaken, but I think it's identical. And just one big screw here. Takes that thing off. You just unscrew it and the whole thing comes off with a hex drive in there. Real positive lock. Now again, cracks here, guys, but that's an early sample. A lot of times they cut that Lexan very fast for me. Sometimes they don't paint this thing correctly. So we'll see how the finished version of that comes out. Again, this is a rough test sample, guys, from the factory for me to just beat up. Now also down in here, guys, this scoop right here is a functional scoop. It runs down to the ESC. I'll try and throw a picture of what the ESC hatch is going to look like. When I originally got this plane to show at Joe Knoll, I noticed that, well, this thing is all sealed closed. Where's the air going to get out and cool the ESC? So all I did is I actually pried the back of it open here. You can see this 60 amp ESC that's in this one for right now, Predator ESC. I went ahead and I put 2 washers under there, and actually the air flows over, pulls the air out of that, and it comes in through the front right here. So the original one, or the final version, I think is going to have these little oval holes in here, which I'll try and throw a picture up here. You can see what that looks like. This is a picture of Brandon Moon's model. He's got the silver one for testing as well, too. And he's going to be showing his airplane off to you guys, too. I think he's already put some pictures up on the groups and everything. But I get the early ones like this that are really not cut and crafted the way they're supposed to be. And then, like I said, when the production one comes out, there's usually changes to it. You can see this concave kind of just channel running along there that perfectly mates with the fuselage, and it goes in there real nice. Again, you'll have an ESC hookup and either an EC3 or an EC5 here. Again, I've got my extra door wire in here, and that's probably from the factory going to be integrated into these bullet connectors here, so I don't think you're going to need to worry about that. But you can see really nice ball links all the way around, and again, they're using all the brand new 13-gram digital Metal Gear servos for the flaps. Ailerons are using 17-gram servos all the way around with their hatch cover. Again, guys, mine is often not painted quite right. You see the little covers here that you open up to get your servo hatch open, and mine are a little rough. Again, they don't worry too much about that when they send it to me from the factory because, again, they know I'm testing it and beating it up. All submerged style hinges, guys, all the way around this thing, so just very scale, like the full-scale airplane. Wingtip lights all the way around. I have requested on the other wing, actually, the landing light where it's supposed to go. I think they forgot to put a landing light on it. So, but I have mentioned that to the factory, so is Brandon, and we're hoping that it will not leave the factory without a landing light. We're crossing our fingers, so hopefully we get that. But again, guys, look at the detail. Look at all the riveting in there, the nice plastic fitted parts, all the nice exhaust stacks all the way around. And here's a change I made, guys. I'm going to walk you through this. As I open this door up, you can kind of get an idea. Let me see if I can actually pry this thing open here. This is a change I made. Originally, when this plane came from the factory, it had a kind of a trapeze type mechanism back here plugged into those little holes, and that was what they were using to drive the doors. But there is so much thrust coming off this prop and so much relative wind. These things are just channeled like a drogue. You can see how big they are up front. Just the size of this thing, mechanically, it just didn't have the strength to pull these doors closed. So this is the change that I made. Actually got the idea really from the original, or the full scale, which I'll throw a picture up here. The full scale TIGERCAT has 2 rods that come up here and drive it down from the front. So I said, all right, well, it's probably about the same with a rotary on here. And I'm using the new 13-gram digital servo to drive those closed. And then the rear doors were actually closing nicely, but I felt like they could use just a little assist. So I used the existing tabs they had and drove some springs down there and just made little holes. So the springs in the rear, as you can see here, are just, let me see if I can get this thing angled right. Sorry, guys. They are just sort of a spring assist for the rear half of the door. So, but you can see how nice the landing gear is. All ball bearing supported wheels, compression struts all the way around, and I'll extend these for you here shortly. And you can see over center braces, and you can see the main gear unit down there with a rod, with a shaft here, a drive shaft, output shaft, that drives that over center mechanism and turns this whole thing and extends the gear. So this is really about as close to a full-scale set of landing gear as you can get. Not just a gear unit with a single strut coming out of it, but This is some real world, real nice, very fancy machined aluminum retractable landing gear. So very, very nice stuff. And this may not be exactly how it comes from the factory. It may be slightly different. Okay, but the servo I added, the springs I added, the factory looked at it. We both tested and said, hey, the thing works great now. So they're going to have it similar to this or some incarnation of this, and it should be really nice. You can see I've got cuts in mine. I've handled mine and beat mine up. So again, this is a test plane, guys. So be aware that it's a little rough because I'm beating it up and cutting holes in it and testing it out and finding how things work and how they work better. And then the factory gets a hold of that, and then they will clean that up and make it look nice. So anyway, guys, just really nice wing overall. There is some gun detail as well. I hadn't glued mine on yet because I handle my plane so much. I'm afraid of breaking them off right now. So, but those just go right on there nice. And the other side, I think it's the other side of the wing, we got a pitot tube actually. In fact, I'll show you guys that. There is a pitot tube that comes with it, hangs down from the wing. Again, I hadn't put those details on because I'm doing so much changing and modifying with the airplane right now that I just don't want to have all these things hanging off it while I'm testing it and so forth. But at least this gives you an early look at what this wing looks like. All right, guys, just to kind of give you a little closure on how this whole wing goes on, I'm going to go ahead and install this thing for you. It's very big, and I'm trying to maneuver it as best I can here. So, but anyway, you can see how this thing really, it's about as easy as it is to get on there. You just get it lined up, and then just kind of slide it in place. And then you just take you're probably, like I said, I'm only going to have two wires, an ESC wire and a power wire. But like I said, I have an extra door wire, which again is probably going to be integrated right there into those bullet connectors. But you can see once this thing goes in and you line it up with those plastic pieces, it just takes a little wiggling, and there it is, guys. It's completely installed. You can see it has a very nice seam there. It doesn't have to insert into anything. And then you just put your two screws through the bottom, and then you make your connections right here. All you have really is, again, your power line that plugs into the main harness, your ESC line, and again, I have a doors line. Again, it's going to be integrated probably into that, but you can see how easy the wing goes on. Here's just a quick view of the underside of the wing, and you can see the two wing bolts already installed here with a 2mm hex nut or hex bolt, and they also are beveled edge countersunk screws, so they're nice and flat and nice and flush mounted. You can also see the CG here, which for my airplane with the landing gear down, or I should say with the landing gear up, is about 65mm, and then about 55 to 60 or so with the landing gear extended, because the landing gear all goes forward, the CG moves a little bit. So again, about a 65mm CG is what you guys saw flying in the video, and you can see how rock solid it is right there. And here's how everything looks fully assembled, guys. I'll go ahead and zoom in on a few things for you. You can see how nicely those struts are. You can see how those rods are on there for your gear doors. I used ball links from the 980mm WARBIRDS on the doors, and some ball links and rods, and the new 13-gram digital servo that FMS just designed. I put that all in there just to make the doors work well, and like I said, I think that's what the factory is going to end up using, or some incarnation of it. The main wheels really just as nice. They're bigger, obviously, than the nose wheel, but they're all ball bearing supported and very scale rims all the way around, guys. And I'll go ahead and I'll show you the other one here from the other side. You can just see all that detail that they put into there. You can even see the official Joe Knoll dirt that's all over that wheel from the early demo flight I did. Again, guys, my plane's beat up. It is a test plane that I've been flying around just to get everything going. You can notice the glue I have on some of the screws and things that I put on everything, just to keep some of the screws and the E-rings and all that in place. If you guys watch my videos, you know I do that to a lot of the airplanes. But look at the detailing on all those aluminum arms and how nice they are. All compression struts, guys. Main gear, they have everything sprung, just right. It has the right amount of compression for the weight of this plane, and it's a beautiful performing airplane on grass as well. So all you grass users who have, you don't even really need to have particularly low cut grass necessarily. Just as long as you have a decent grass surface, this plane has big wheels, and it's meant for taking off on landing on grass or pavement. So anyway, guys, without further delay, I'll go ahead and retract the gear and we can get an idea of how that looks. And here we go. And you can see how nicely it all goes in there. And then you can see the servos close everything up nice and scale-like. Now, it's important to note with this airplane, the landing gear is not typical of your normal RC plane. Your normal RC plane has a retract unit with a trunnion and the gear is stuck right in it. This isn't. The electric gear, the electric motor actually drives the over-center, the output shaft that drives the over-center brace. So it's like full-scale landing gear, basically. So the landing gear is a little weak when you're extending the landing gear inverted, okay? It'll do it, but it puts a little load and a little bit of stress on them, which you'll probably hear here as I extend them. So it's a good idea actually to plug in a servo tester with your individual wing when you're testing this on the ground and things like that. But once you get it together, you can cycle them all together. But it is a good idea to have the airplane upright, okay, when you're actually cycling the gear, especially when you're extending it. Now I'm going to do it for demonstration purposes here just so you guys can see the wheels better. But you'll notice that they strain a little bit. But that's again because the airplane's inverted. And how many large airplanes, you know, full scale, do you see them extending the gear when they're inverted? So because the gear is heavier on this airplane, it's more scale-like, it's just better to do it with the airplane upright. So anyway, here we go, guys. Doors coming open. And there they come out nicely. And you can see all those over-center braces here, this one back here, and then this one back here operating. And you can just see how nicely they do operate. Now, one thing I want to show you guys that a lot of people have asked me about, sorry about the mess, but a lot of stuff does happen in my workshop here, so that's just how it is. But anyway, notice how the nose strut operates. You can see how that turns. Very ingenious mechanism. You can see as I roll down here a little bit, you can see that, let me see if I can get my finger in there, the steering arm, traditional steering arm, nothing crazy down there, but you can see how this part of the strut is all, and the compression is all one unit, and it spins within that collar. A lot of people have been asking me, how does that thing steer? How does that work? Well, that's exactly how it works, guys, just like this. So it's a very slick system, very nice design, and again, probably some of the most exquisite landing gear I think I've seen on a foam airplane to date. Now, let me give you a closer look at the main gear so you can kind of see those in operation up close. All right, guys, I've gone freehand a little. Again, keep in mind this is an early factory sample, so it is a little bit rough in some areas. So sometimes they send me this stuff kind of halfway done, and you know, sometimes I figure out the rest or I iron out some of the bugs. So anyway, you can see right off the bat the roughness, okay, of this this over-center mechanism. But again, that's going to be smoothed out when the factory version comes out. It should be nice and clean and nice and smooth. And I actually have been filing at it a little bit too, just to get it to all fit. It all fits beautifully now. So again, we're pretty close to this thing going into full production and everything. But you can see how this this system works. There's simply just a the drive motor down there, guys, that you can see. And it's a traditional retract, but it's a bigger one. It has an output shaft that goes out to there that drives, okay, this over-center brace. And this over-center brace really is what locks the landing gear in place. And you've got your main strut right here, you've got your side strut right here, and once this over-center brace, breaks over-center, it retracts the landing gear all the way up into the wheel well. You can see again the single servo in there, which is going to look similar to that. It may look a little different. We'll see what the factory decides to do with it. I ended up cutting a little notch down there to get the arm to fit just the way that I mounted it. But again, the factory may have a slightly different way in which they do it. And then of course just two spring assists for those rear doors. So let's go ahead and retract the landing gear, and you guys can get an idea how this works with that over-center brace. Here we go. You can see how it drives that in. Gravity takes it right in there, as you can see. And then your door's closed. So really nice, guys. Again, mine is beat up because I've had my hands in this thing, and I've been handling this airplane like crazy. And so it does get a little bit beat up. I'll probably touch it up here eventually, but the full production version will be pretty clean. So anyway, here we go. Go ahead and extend in the gear. And you see how that output shaft drives that over-center brace right there. Extends it out, it goes over center, bang, and it locks the whole thing in place. So Really sweet landing gear, guys. Probably about as nice as it gets. Go over there and show you the other side as well. And just really, really nice landing gear overall. I just can't get over really how nice these retracts are on this airplane. The nose strut on this airplane operates pretty much the same way as the main gear. The electric motor actually drives this output or this over center, the output arm, which drives this over center brace, which in turn drives this brace, brings it from being over center and retracts the landing gear, and then extends it just the way you see it here to lock it in position. As we look right down in there, you can see the output shaft right there, and it's a very short shaft. All ball bearings supported on all of these as well. Nice big retract mechanism, and it drives again this over center brace to get the landing gear up and down. Now, I'm not sure exactly how the doors are going to come from the factory. The proper way for the TIGERCAT gear door, if I'm not mistaken, is that in this position, with the gear extended the way it is, the doors are closed, then they open up, the wheel goes in, and then the doors close again. And then when it comes out, doors open, wheel comes out, and then these close again. And I think it was set up to do that. I was having a little trouble with the servo in there and how small it was, and the position it was in, and so forth. So I actually just made mine mechanical. So I actually did some modifications in there with some wood, and joined these together with a spring assist right in here, and they just remain open. And when that wheel comes in, it hits a striker plate down in there and closes the doors right behind it, and it works perfectly without a servo, so it's kind of nice. A little bit less scale. So I'm not sure how the factory is going to do that. They may leave it just the way you see it here, or they may go ahead and put a servo and all there, but I just found it to be less of a hassle without a servo if we can get away with it, because they're very small doors. They're lined up with the free stream of air, you know, without any drag on them, so they open and close real nicely mechanically. So anyway, let's go ahead and retract the landing gear. Once again, you can see once we flip the switch, that output shaft drives that over center brace, brings the landing gear right into the well. It hits that striker plate, and the door closes nicely. So you can't get too much better than that. Once again, guys, mine is a demo plane. It is an early test sample, so it is beat up, and I've had my hands in this thing, so it is a been a little bit worn here. So anyway, let's go ahead and extend the wheels here. Main doors are opening. The output shaft drives the over center brace. Over center brace moves the landing gear. The wheel comes off the striker plate, and there's your over center brace locking in position, and your doors open up nicely. So anyway, guys, seriously, just about some of the most exquisite landing gear I've seen on a foam model to date. Okay, folks, that pretty much concludes this early sneak peek preview of the all-new 1700 millimeter FMS F7F TIGERCAT. Once again, guys, this thing has been in the making for at least 3 to 4 years. I've been emailing FMS. We've been discussing specifications and the way to make the gear and the motors and props and stuff since way back in beginning of mid to early 2014. I had to get this thing right. And I think the quality really shows in the time they spent to kind of get this thing together. Rather than just rushing out a quick model and selling it to everybody, they actually went full quality this time around. And the landing gear is just absolutely phenomenal. If you haven't seen the flight video, check out the flight demo video, which I'll put a link here at the end of the video, or check it out on the RCINFORMER YouTube channel. With the 440 kV brushless outrunners on this, the performance is spectacular. Lots of vertical performance, lots of speed and power the way a TIGERCAT should be. But with flaps, it even slows to a crawl. Really nice slow landing speeds. It has a very nice wide wheelbase, side to side and front and back. Anybody can actually fly this airplane. It's such an easy model to fly, and it's got the performance to match it. Great scale detail, incredible landing gear. And I will be testing out also, even though it doesn't need it, more powerful motor and prop setups on this thing that I'm kind of testing out for the factory. And we'll see if we come out with a speed kit for it, or at the very least, later on, if folks want to make it even faster than it is, which again is unnecessary, I'll have the specs for you, and I'll talk about that as I do the flight demo. So be looking for more flight demos on this airplane. Brandon Moon's going to be showing you guys the silver version of this, the La Patrona, and we'll be doing kind of demos and videos for you guys so you can kind of see all the details on this just fantastic airplane. This is the new flagship from FMS, guys. They really haven't made anything like it. Nothing this grand, nothing this spectacular. And I think it really sets a new standard in the industry for just performance, quality, detail, and just excellent machine landing gear and just great performance. So anyway, guys, I appreciate you guys watching. I hope this has been informative. Please comment. Let me know if you guys want to see more. Oh, also one other thing. This comes with a center drop tank on it as well. I went ahead and put that on. It just comes on and off, slides on and off. But this plane comes with a drop tank, so it's pretty slick. I threw that on there so you guys could see it. Anyway, guys, once again, thanks for checking out RC Informer. And as always, we'll see you next time.